an unlikely standout has emerged on defense throughout OTAs. It says heading into OTAs, fans were incredibly interested to see how the defensive backfield looks with the additions of Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Daniel Thomas, and even the underrated UDFA cornerback from West Virginia, Michael Coates Jr., okay? It says, despite expectations, Myles Bryant has emerged as a standout amongst the team's newly added defensive backs, drawing attention as the top performer in OTAs so far. He was consistently getting his hands on the football, breaking up passes left and right for new DC Mike Ruttenberg over the first couple of days of voluntary practices in Berea. It's hard not to see how he's managed to stick around in the NFL for the past 6 years after entering the league as a UDFA in 2020 with the New England Patriots. And this is him on an interception. This is him when Jerry Jeudy didn't come back to the football, being lazy. But this is how you make a team. You got to make plays and make a name for yourself, okay? It says going back and watching the tape, his ability to be consistently in the right place at the right time is what makes him such an intriguing player and why the Browns were happy to sign him in April. Yes, it's still really early, and the full pads haven't come on yet, but Bryant could be what Cleveland's been looking for in a nickel as of late. He'll definitely be a name to monitor for the Browns fans throughout the summer and fall. So, you got other guys out there making a name for themselves at camp as well, alongside this quarterback battle that Spencer German and Lance Riesland spoke about here on 92.3 The Fan. Let's take a listen.
On more about this team, and if they can get adequate quarterback play, whoever that is, and that's always been my thing is I'm often told I don't like somebody or like one of the two or one of the three or I like Dylan Gabriel. For me, it's all about getting adequate quarterback play. And, obviously Dan is fantastic in terms of his level of calmness when he talks about stuff. And I think he's right. This team with the fourth place schedule and all the things going on, there's a chance they could be, a lot better than people think if they get, adequate, not quarterbacks you win because of, quarterbacks you win with, which there's very few you win because of. They just need a guy you can win with, and he can be on the lower end early on of a guy you can win with because his defense is going to be so good.
I just like the quarterback conversation for me, Lance. It's
exhausting.
It has just become so. I just don't know what I'm kind of as exhausted with it as Todd Monken seems. Like when we're asking him questions, and to be fair, our colleagues in the media, it is on us to ask those questions each week. Like, has anything changed? Because he's the one who makes the decision. He's the one out there on the field seeing it. So it's totally fair that we're asking, but he's annoyed because he's like, nope, nothing's changed. Like, I'll let you know when it does. And I kind of feel the same way. It's like, until we get to veteran minicamp or mandatory minicamp and we see the full team back all together, more ability to do some things, you're not restricted by all these different things quite as much. And by then we know Todd Monken really is going to want to set his depth chart leading into training camp. Until we get to that point, the quarterback conversation right now is just a snooze fest to me. There's not a lot that's changed. There's not a lot to talk about unless you're debating, can Shedeur be the franchise quarterback? But we've already had that conversation, right? And there's a few other branch off stories there. I thought about asking Dan about if Deshaun does win the starting job, how many games you legitimately think he's going to play. There's a few other things, but right now it's just such a there's just not much to talk about there until we see something different. I think we just got to kind of see what it looks like at mandatory minicamp before we kind of get that answer. But obviously people are interested in finding out who's going to be the starter, and there's a debate to be had over Deshaun versus Shedeur and who you want, and we can have those things. But I just feel like I've done that conversation a ton. I think you've done that conversation a ton. So at this point, it really is just kind of a waiting game until we have something to talk about. It's a story until it's not a story until it's a story right now.
Well, and everybody has said to me, how can a guy be head or behind after 3, 5, 6 days? Well, first of all, we don't see what's behind closed doors, right? The meetings, the install. This is a brand new offense. And part of the thing when Kevin was relieved of his job, everybody talks about, this is going to be great for Shedeur, great for Deshaun. Well, I will say this. When you bring a new guy in, everything is clear. So everything that everybody has said about Deshaun and his injuries and how he's played, that's all very true. And that Shedeur is this or he's that, good and bad for both guys. None of that matters. None of that matters, and people say it should. It doesn't. As a coach, he's thinking about winning week 1. Who's the guy that gives me the best chance to win week 1? Not the guy that helps me develop, who's going to be the franchise guy. Todd Monken is thinking, I'm 60 years old. I got my first job. I'm running the show. Who helps me win week 1? That's what you want to do. It's not about having favorites. I told you so. For me, if Shedeur's physically, Deshaun looks good to me. And it doesn't mean he'll stay healthy. But that tells me if Shedeur wins that he beat out a healthy Deshaun, that's good for the Browns. And if Deshaun plays, it tells you he's healthy and playing at a high level again. That's good for the Browns. So the idea of having one guy or the other, for me, that's not the case. It's what guy gives you the best chance to win in Jacksonville in early September. That's all these coaches are thinking about, and nothing else matters. And that's what I like about, that's why he's irritated, because this is not conversation most people have. They just want to win. Whoever wins is going to be the guy who plays, and that's it. And if Shedeur is going to have to practice better, if we all know Watson's going to practice great and then not playing the game great, well, that's the only thing that Todd Monken knows is how they practice. So the guy who practices better is going to play, because the history doesn't mean anything. That's just my thoughts.
No, that's well said. I do think that there's I don't know, what I will say is this. Maybe the only answer I feel like we really have definitively right now is that it's Shedeur. I just combined their names.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was impressive.
Deshaun and Shedeur leading the group. I think as much as they've continued to try to say, Dylan Gabriel, he has as good a chance of anybody. It's clear that he's lagged behind this group. They don't. Todd Monken went out of his way. He was asked, has anything surprised you with these quarterbacks? And he went out of his way to make comments in that answer about Deshaun and about Shedeur. He didn't make any comments about the other two. So I think the only thing we can say definitively right now is that those two have separated themselves from the other two guys. And Taylor Green was never really going to be like a true factor in this competition because he's just a rookie. But I don't know yet that we have the full picture on who the starter is going to be. I thought it was interesting that in that answer, he highlighted the fact that Shedeur has taken major strides in his ability to read a defense, identify coverages, all those different things. So I think that's huge that he's complimenting him in that way. But we just don't have a clear answer at this stage. It feels like it's leaning Deshaun because all those perfect plays, it's like Deshaun's the first guy up with the first team offensive line, making sure things are being done correctly. But again, talk to me when we get to mandatory minicamp. I mentioned